For joining us this evening for an open house on the Hopkins Landing renovation project. And we also have some folks joining us online, so welcome to you too. And my name is Aidan Buckley. I work as the Manager of Communications and Engagement at the Sunshine Coast Regional District. And I want to start off just by acknowledging that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is located on the lands of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. So I'm not alone tonight. There's a couple of other people here with us, both SCRD staff and then folks from Boundary, who are the consultant who's working with us. So I'm just going to do a quick run around the room just to introduce some of these people. So starting off with Shelley Gagnon, who's our General Manager of Community Services at the Sunshine Coast Regional District. Next to Shelley is Anna Adam, and Anna is our assistant at Community Services as well. And myself, Shelley, and Anna will be helping facilitate this evening. For more of the kind of in-depth questions about the wharf and pertaining to the boards here behind you, I direct you to Micah Smith, who's behind you, who's with Boundary. Beside Micah is Kelly Coper, and Kelly is the Capital Project Coordinator at the Sunshine Coast Regional District. And behind me here is Ben Smale, who's going to be giving a presentation here shortly. Before Ben does, I just want to direct all of you to the emergency exits here. So we've got an exit over here, and there's also an exit behind you too, if there's a need to evacuate the building. And there's lots of tea, lots of coffee, and as well as bathroom over here beside Director Kelly Bax, and there's more bathrooms looking around the corner. Okay. So the format for this evening, we're going to have a presentation here with Ben, about 15 minutes or so. After that, then we're really keen to just get chatting out with the boards. We're going to have staff all the way around who can address any questions that you may have. Okay. So with that, I'll pass it over to Ben. Thank you.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Good. We're all good here. I might use this. I might not. I think everybody can pretty much hear me anyway, but it's just a little easier on my voice, and they can hear me a little bit better online as well, because we have hopefully some people from Danbury keep showing up online. So again, thank you for everybody for coming out tonight. Really, the intent of having this community engagement meeting tonight is to receive opinions about what is to occur with the Hopkins Landing renovation project. And I'll get a little bit into the background and history on it in a slight bit, but just to kind of give an introduction to myself and an introduction to Micah. Our company has been hired by the SCRD to impart on the technical aspects of the work involved with the renewal of the dock facility. And that includes what you see here tonight, the drafting and presentation of some options that we've discussed with SCRD staff, and that SCRD staff has recommended that we bring forward. And also, we'll be taking care of the actual technical submissions in terms of creating a project tender, hiring a contractor under the guidance of the SCRD direction, and supervising the work as it occurs. My background in this type of work is mostly related in heavy civil construction. I used to be the manager of the deep sea dock at House Sound Pulp and Paper, as well as I was originally the asset coordinator during the initial asset management of this work in terms of inventorying the docks and that kind of stuff. I'm a local community member. I live in Area F, actually. I live on the old oil farm, for any of you who know what the history of our area. And as well as Mike has been here for his entire life. And like, really, our company is excited to be involved with the project because we love the dock, we love the facility, and we want to see what everybody has to say about moving it forward. So Aidan, if you could help out there. Perfect. So like I said, I got into the introductions already, and Aidan's already given the introductions to the SCRD, so we'll just jump right into having a brief history of Hopkins Landing, the project overview, budget and funding sources, what can and can't be included, and presenting the concepts that we've seen on the boards behind us here. So yeah, there's our lovely faces. There we go. So my understanding of the history of this dock is related to the West House Loan story. There will be many versions and iterations of personal history that are littered throughout the crowd here. So I'll just give a general history presentation forward, and if I'm wrong, please feel to come and correct me after we're done here. But the Hopkins Landing Wharf was initially constructed in the early 1900s, between 1906 and 1910, after George Hopkins had purchased the initial 160 acres that surrounds that area. and the community of Hopkins Landing got together and decided that a wharf was an excellent idea for the small community. Given like the general age of everybody in the group here, I don't need to really get into the fact that these communities really used to be very barely serviced through road. And a lot of the communities, in terms of early initial access, the economic development driving in these communities was done through watercourse and through the construction of wharfs and the utilization of wharfs. And for instance, the small community of Hopkins Landing, all of the mail went right into the basement of George Hopkins and was handed out there for a little while. These kinds of things like this. So like the community has had this asset for a very long time. And through the years of iterations of different local governments and through different local community groups and so on and so forth, the SCRD has grown and agglomerated and become a regional district in 1967. And all these assets have ended up in the SCRD's lap, kind of through a process of dedication, through a process of not having a reasonable stewardship for land in some of our docks, and in this case, because it makes sense for it to be a community asset. It always was. So in 2001, the official ports community group was made within the SCRD, and you can just keep on going through there with that. Oh yeah, we took that detail slide out of there, so we'll just hit the project over for a second. In 2001, the ports group was made with the SCRD. And since then, the ports have been receiving relatively minimal maintenance over the last 20 years compared to overall degradation of the assets. And in 2020, my work was initially in 2018 on these docks, inventorying these assets. And in recent years, there have been a few condition assessments that have identified that this dock has a few major structural issues with it. And of course, as many of you know, the dock was shut down as a result. That's correct. Yeah. I don't believe it's been utilized in that manner. The question is, was it used for oil tankers? And yes, it was. The dock hasn't been utilized in that way since the destruction of the Esso station that used to be across the road, which I believe is many, many decades. Like 2000, right? Yeah. No, that's what I meant by many. Come on. I shouldn't have said the third many. Sorry about that. Doesn't matter. This long story short, by the time I moved here approximately 18 years ago, it was gone. Right? So like it hasn't been utilized that way in several iterations of renovations and repairs since then. Yeah. Absolutely. But it did at one point in time used to receive heavy traffic, and it was an industrial facility for sure. So going to the project overview with this. So where we're at now is we're at the point where the dock needs work and we need to do it in order to renew the asset. And as a minimum that has been presented to the board to date and has been approved by the board to date is they would like to see a version of the asset forward. And specifically, they would like to see a version of the asset move forward with applicable boat access to the asset, because there are many people in the island communities that use the asset for transportation of goods back and forth. It's used in emergencies quite often. So the board is elected to decide to make sure that we maintain float access. So in the construction of some ideas to present back to the community, we met early with the SCRD in the last few months, and we've been deciding on what those may look like. And usually in engineering, we kind of have like, we're not really that sophisticated. We kind of have do everything, do nothing, and somewhere in the middle. And in this asset, it kind of means repair the full asset, remove the asset to the point of functionality that the board has requested, and providing something in the middle. So when in the presentation of options, if you want to just move forward there. Yeah, sorry, we'll go back to that one in a sec. Let's just go to the concepts. So yeah, as the concepts that you've been presented with behind you, we have concept one, which is keeping the entire facility as it is and renovating all of the existing timber that's underneath it that needs to be replaced. There's also some poor repairs that were done over the years that need to be corrected, to essentially remaining full access to the end and keeping the dolphins and everything as is. In the next concept, again, you want to just flip to that one, is removing it directly to the boat access. And you can see in the old version of the wharf that was used for vehicle traffic, there are several areas of this dock that have been removed in terms of planking and stringers. And the third concept takes that kind of idea and ties it in with an increased area. So existing on the dock, especially as you're walking down the dock on the right-hand side on the main gangway, that whole main gangway on the right-hand side has had several stringers and several pieces of decking removed. And what we've done in this concept is extended the area that's beyond the gangway to that full width, and as well as the vehicle timbers that used to be on the turnaround before that. So these are the three concepts that we've agreed with the SCRD to come up with and present to the community as something that are ideas to move forward with, and that we're looking for your engagement on to understand what may be good about them, what may be poor about them, what you may want to see different in them, and that kind of thing. So as a result of that, we've had the ports page open, and really what we're looking here today is both the combination of survey response through the ports page, but more or less discussion between community members and discussion with us and the SCRD, and moving forward in that way. This is a bit less traditional. We're not doing a community engagement here where we're going to open the floor and have a bunch of big discussion about and directed at one person up here. We feel like it's more conducive to having a group discussion on the floor. So going backwards to what's in and out of the project, there's been some things that it's important in these projects to have some semblance of boundary to what we can and can't do as part of this individual project. And one of the things that was very clear in the early look at this work is the tenure for that dock is very close to the edge of the dock. So expansion of the dock within this project, within a renovation project, is not likely feasible. Just as reconstruction and expansion into the north of the wharf wouldn't be either. So what they've really requested us to do is give concepts that maintain the existing service level that the dock facilitates, which is personnel access and access to the floats. And what we're looking for from the community in terms of things that can be added within this project are improvements that can be renovated within the existing three-dimensional structure of the dock, or things that can be removed from the dock in order to improve use, if that makes sense. Some things that have been discussed amongst people that have been bringing to us as things like swimming, like that. We're trying to keep the boundary of this project as close to renovating the project as humanly possible, so it can be done, essentially. When it comes to things like increasing service levels for swimming, or increasing service levels for new dock facility, new flow facility, things like that. These are things that can be considered, but it's recommended in general that we try to keep them as separate projects from this problem. The budget currently approved by the SCRD board is $500,000, including all technical work. That includes contingency.
So do you mean keep the existing float that we have,
Yes.
not construct a new?
Exactly.
So that one, but fix what might need to be fixed on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and to improve. Something that I've been hearing consistently amongst people is concepts 2 and 3 has been presented as being exposed to the elements, and certainly it is more exposed to the elements than option 1 is. Some things that we can consider are partial removal of piling in order to maintain fendering and storm protection, things like that. These are things that we haven't gotten too technically in the project, because what we want to see is community engagement before we present a whole bunch of complicated technical work, if that makes sense. It's our desire to attempt to boil down as much as possible within the aspect of community engagement, which option we're going for, so that we can spend the least amount of money humanly possible on resolving technical issues. Yes. The council has set the budget. Oh, sorry. The question was asked, has this been to council? And yes, council has reviewed the work and set the budget at $500,000 for this week.
So the original option, kind of the lighting of the community, that's the option one, right?
Yeah, the question was option one is like for like, and that's correct.
And crossed off as a viable option, is that basically because of pandemic?
No, option one is within current funding limits. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I trust me, I know, and these are opinions for sure. Yeah, yeah. Ultimately through council, through the this next round, what we're trying to identify here is we're trying to identify the community's desires so that we can do the least amount of costing work possible in order to figure out how much this is going to be. Currently, $500,000 is going to be tight to complete the work. We understand that for sure, but currently the current projections show the work has been previously costed out by a different consultant, and that consultant seems to believe that the work can be completed within the amount we have plus our technical budget for our work as well. Currently, that's what we see. We're hoping to complete this work by the end of this summer. Yeah, ultimately this work drives ultimately what's going to drive the schedule on this work. And the question was, can we get it before the start of the summer? And ultimately what drives the complexity of this work is there's 3 contractors on the entire Lower Mainland that do this work. And we're trying to get in front of as many of the technical issues as possible and to get a quick tendering process through, because ultimately with the timelines associated with purchasing and things like that, there's a minimum 60 days that's required in purchasing to advertise these bids. So, I mean, even from that point here, we're seeing, you know, start of July in terms of bid award from today, and that's not realistic. Question.
Your options are a T or no T. Have you considered an L, like the dog?
No, but that's an excellent consideration. The question is, have we considered an L to protect the dock? And no, we haven't. That should be something that we should consider.
You would have to build the south part of that dog could be removed.
Yeah.
I mean, the L would protect the dock close.
Yeah, for sure. And that point is excellently taken, for sure. Ultimately, there's a few different technical things that we can do in removal of the existing facility to fender and protect, including essentially what we see at Armors, similar facilities to that, dolphining, logging. Pardon? Okay. Okay. But I think it's best for me to leave the remainder of the conversation. I think we've had some excellent questions come forward. Thank you, everybody, for that. I think I'll step back at this point from the mic, and if there's any remaining questions, we'll be in front of the boards for the rest of the night. And all these concerns, trust me, they're very well received concerns and comments. We've had a few concerns and comments about swimming, and we've had a few concerns and comments about floats, and they're all excellent. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. And if you have any questions for me, I'll be by the boards. Thank you.
Thanks, Preston. Cheers. Thanks so much. So thank you for all that. So if you do need further information on this, we do have a Let's Talk page, which is at letstalk.srd.ca/Hopkins. I think we've had about 140 responses already to the survey on there, and it's been, you know, really good uptake in that. So thank you very much for that. So as Ben said, you know, Ben and Micah behind us and Kelly as well, some of the more technical questions, feel free to fire at those guys there. And then myself and Shelley and Hannah will be doing the rounds too. And our intent is to kind of take all the information that you're providing us and then to summarize it into a small little report that will go back up on the Let's Talk page as well in the next week or two, so you have to go take a look at it. And I'm going to steal Ben for a second just to answer questions if anybody has online. But everybody else, I'd encourage you to, you know, go up, have a little walk around the boards and have a chat and ask your questions if that's okay. Thank you.